Hare Krishna. So we will start reading. We are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 14, text number 2. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll start reading from chapter 14 Adi Leela, verse number 2 from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhu Rako Hiloe Janma Leela Sutra Yashodanandana Jaiche Hoilo Chachi Putra. I have thus described in brief the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared as the son of Mother Sachi, exactly as Krishna appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda. Purport: Sri Narottam Das Thakur confirms the statement that now Lord Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, has appeared again as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, becoming the son of Mother Sachi. Rajendra Nandana Jai, Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. The son of Sachi is none other than the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and Nityananda Prabhu is the same Balaram. Verse 4. Sankshepe ko hilo janma lila anukrama, ebeka hi balya lila sutrera ganana. I've already briefly spoken about the pastimes of his birth in chronological order. Now I shall give a synopsis of his childhood pastimes. Vande Shri Krishna Vande Chaitanya Krishnasya Balya Leelam Manoharam Laukikim Apitam Isha Cheshtaya Valitantaram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the childhood pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. This is verse number 5. Whoever joins now, it's verse number 5. You will be seeing on the screen. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 9, chapter 11th verse, the statement is confirmed as follows. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. To execute his pastimes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet or within this universe like an ordinary human being or human child. Yet he maintains his superiority as the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna appeared as a human child. But his uncommon activities, even in his childhood, like the killing of the demon Putana or the lifting of the Govardhan hill, were not the engagements of an ordinary child. Similarly, although the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as they will be described in this chapter, appear like the activities of a small boy, they are uncommon pastimes, impossible for an ordinary human child to execute. This is chapter 14, Adi Leela, verse 6. Balya Leelaya Age Prabhura Uttana Shayana Pita Mataya Dekhaila Shihna Charana. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. Purport. The word uttana is also used to mean lying down on the bed face upwards or lying down flat on the bed. In some readings, the word uttana means standing up. In his childhood pastimes, the Lord tried to catch the wall and stand up. But as an ordinary child falls down, so the Lord also fell down and again took to lying on his bed. Text 7. Grihe dui jana deki lagu padachina tahe shobe dvaja vajra shanka chakramina. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the specific marks of Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch shell, disc, and fish. Dekhiya dohara chitte janmila vishmaya karapada chinagare napaya nischaya. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Thus, struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could be possible in their home. Text 9, chapter 14. Adi Leela. Mishra kahe bala gopalache shila sange teho murti hana ghare khele jani range. Jagannath Mishra said, certainly, child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila. Taking his childhood form, he is playing within the room. Purport. When the form of Lord is carved from wood, stone, or any other element, it is to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Even logically, we can understand that all material elements are expansions of the energy of the Lord. Since the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is non-different from his personal body, the Lord is always present in his energy, and he manifests himself on account of the ardent desire of a devotee. Since the Lord is supremely powerful, it is logical that he can manifest himself in his energy. Deity worship or worship of the Shalagram Shila is not idol worship. The deity of the Lord in the house of a pure devotee can act exactly as he can in his original transcendental personality. Text 10. Se ikshane jagini mai koroe krandana anke lana sachi tare piyai lastana. While Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra were talking, child Nimai woke up and began to cry. And Mother Sachi took him on the lap and allowed him to suck her breast. Stana piyai te putrera charana dekila se china pae deki mishre bolaila. When Mother Sachi was feeding the child from her breast, she saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible on the floor of the room. And she called for Jagannath Mishra. Dekhiya Mishra haila anandita mati gupte bolaila nilambara chakravarti. When Jagannath Mishra saw the wonderful marks on the soul of his son, he became very joyful and privately called for Nilambar Chakravarti. China deki Chakravarti bolena hasiya lagna garni purveyami rakhiya chilikya. When Nilambar Chakravarti saw those marks, he smilingly said, Formerly, I ascertained all this by astrological calculations and noted it in writing. Bhatrisha Lakshana Mahapurusha Bhushana Sishu ange deki se saba lakshana. There are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality. And I see all those marks on the body of this child. Text 15. Pancha dirga, pancha sukshma, sapta rakta, sadunnata, trihrashva, pritugambiro, dvatrimsal lakshano mahan. There are 32 bodily symptoms of a great personality. Five of his bodily parts are large. 5 fine, 7 reddish, 6 raised, 3 small, 3 broad, and 3 grave. Purport. The 5 large parts are nose, arms, chin, eyes, and knees. The 5 fine parts are the skin, fingertips, teeth, hair on his body, and hair on his head. The 7 reddish parts are the eyes, soles, palms, palate, nails, and upper and lower lips. The 6 raised parts are the chest, shoulders, nails, nose, waist, and mouth. The 3 small parts are the neck, thighs, and the male organ. The 3 broad parts are the waist, forehead, and chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, voice, and existence. Altogether, there are 32 symptoms of a great personality. This is a quotation from Samudrika. Text 16. Narayana yukta shrihasta charana, sishu sarva loke koribe tarana. This baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayan on his palms and soles. He will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. Eita koribe Vaishnava dharmera prachara, iha hoite habe dui kulera nistara. The child will preach the Vaishnava cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. We're reading from Adilila chapter 14, text number 17, purport. Only Narayana himself or his bona fide representative can preach the cult of Vaishnavism or devotional service. When a Vaishnava is born, he delivers both his maternal and paternal families simultaneously. Text 18. Mahotsava koro saba bolaha brahmana, ajidina bhala koriva nama koribo nama karana. Translation. I propose to perform a name-giving ceremony. We should observe a festival and call for the brahmanas because today is very auspicious. Purport. It is a Vedic principle to observe a festival in connection with Narayana and brahmanas. Giving a child a particular name is among the purificatory processes known as Dasha Vida Samskara. And on the day of such a ceremony, one should observe a festival by worshipping Narayana and distributing prasadam, chiefly among the brahmanas. When Neelambara Chakravarti, Sachi Mata, Jagannath Mishra understood from the marks of the Lord's lotus feet that child Nimai was not an ordinary child, but an incarnation of Narayana, they decided that on that very same day, which was very auspicious, they should observe a festival for his name-giving ceremony. In this connection, we can particularly see how an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ascertained by his bodily symptoms, his activities, and the prediction of the Shastras. By factual evidence, a person can be accepted as an incarnation of God, not whimsically, or by the votes of rascals and fools. There have been many imitation incarnations in Bengal since the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. But any impartial devotee or learned man can understand that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accepted as an incarnation of Krishna, not on the basis of popular votes, but by the evidence from the Shastras and bona fide scholars. It was not ordinary men who accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the beginning of his identity was ascertained by learned scholars like Neelambara Chakravarti, and later all his activities were confirmed by the 6 Goswamis, especially Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami, and many other learned scholars with evidence from the Shastra. An incarnation of God is such from the very beginning of his life. It is not that by performing meditation one can become an incarnation of God all of a sudden. Such false incarnations are meant for fools and rascals, not sane men. Text 19. Sarvalokera koribe iha dharana poshana Vishwambara nama ihara eito karana. In the future, this child will protect and maintain all the world. For this reason, he is to be called Vishwambara. Purport. The Chaitanya Bhagavat confirms that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his birth, has made the whole world peaceful. We are reading from Adi Lila, chapter 14, text number 19, purport. The Chaitanya Bhagavat confirms that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his birth, has made the whole world peaceful. As in the past, Narayana protected this earth in his incarnation as Varaha. Because of his protecting and maintaining this world in the present Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Vishwambara, which refers to one who feeds the entire world. The movement inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was present 500 years ago is again being propagated all over the world. And factually, we are seeing its practical results. People are being saved, protected, and maintained by this Hare Krishna movement. Thousands of followers, especially Western youths, are taking part in this Hare Krishna movement, and how safe and happy they feel can be understood from the expressions of gratitude in their hundreds and thousands of letters. The name Vishwambara is also mentioned in the Atharva Veda Samhita 3.3.16.5. Vishwambara Vishwenama Bharasa Pahiswaha. Text 20. Shuni Sachi Mishra Mane Ananda Badila Brahmana Brahmaniyani Mahotsava Koilo. After hearing Nilambara Chakravarti's prediction, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra observed the name-giving festival in great joy, inviting all the Brahmanas and their wives. Purport. It is the Vedic system to observe all kinds of festivals, including birthday festivals, marriage festivals, name-giving festivals, and festivals marking the beginning of education by especially inviting Brahmanas. In every festival, the Brahmanas are to be fed first, and when the Brahmanas are pleased, they bless the festival by chanting Vedic mantras or Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tabe koto dine prabhura janu shankramana nana chamatkara tata koroila darshanam. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. Purport. The Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that one day, while the Lord was crawling upon his knees, the bells on his waist ringing very sweetly, a snake came out to crawl in the yard of the Lord, who captured the snake like a curious child. Immediately the snake coiled over him. The Lord, as a child, then rested on the snake, and after some time the snake went away, leaving the Lord aside. Krandanera chale balaila harina bolaila harinama nari sabha hari bole bhasa gauradhama. The Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying. And while they chanted, the Lord would smile. Purport. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, this pastime is described as follows. The Lord, with his beautiful eyes, would cry, but he would stop immediately upon hearing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When the ladies, understanding the fun of the Lord, discovered that he would cry and then stop upon hearing and chanting the Hare Krishna, hearing the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they all took it as a clue to chant Hare Krishna as soon as the Lord cried. Thus, it became a regular function. The Lord would cry, the ladies would begin chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, clapping their hands. In this way, all the ladies of the neighboring houses would assemble in the home of Sachimata to join in the Sankirtan movement 24 hours a day. As long as the ladies continued to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Lord would not cry, but would very pleasingly smile upon them. Adi Lila chapter 14, text 23. Tabe koto dine koilo pada chankramana, sishu gane mili koilo bibida khelana. After some days, the Lord began to move his legs and walk. He mixed with other children and exhibited various sports. Ekadina sachikai sandesha aniya bata bhari diya boila kauta basiya. One day, while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports with other little children, Mother Sri Sachi brought a dish filled with fused rice and sweetmeats and asked the child to sit down and eat them. Eto boli gela Sachi grihe karma korite lukana lagila sishu mritika khaite. But when she returned to her household duties, the child hid from his mother and began to eat dirt. Deki Sachidana Aila, Kori Haya Haya, Mati Kadi, Lana Kahe Mati Kene, Kaya. Seeing this, Mother Sachi hastily returned and exclaimed, "What is this? What is this?" She snatched the dirt from the hands of the Lord and inquired why he was eating it. Khandiya bolena sishu, kene ka rarosha, tumi mati khaite dile mora ki badosha. Crying, the child inquired from his mother, "Why are you angry? You've already given me dirt to eat. What is my fault?" Kai sandesha anna jateka matira vikara, eho mati seha mati kibeda vichara. Fused rice, sweetmeats, and all other eatables are but transformation of dirt. This is dirt, that is dirt. Please consider what is the difference between them. Mati deha, mati bakshya dekha vichari, avichare deha dosha kiboli te pari. This body is a transformation of dirt, and all the eatables are also transformation of dirt. Please reflect upon this. You are blaming me without consideration. What can I say? Purport. This is an explanation of the Mayavad philosophy, which takes everything to be one. The necessities of the body, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are all unnecessary in spiritual life. When one is elevated to the spiritual platform, there are no more bodily necessities. And in activities pertaining to the bodily necessities, there are no spiritual considerations. In other words, the more we eat, sleep, have sex, and try to defend ourselves, the more we engage in material activities. Unfortunately, Mayavadi philosophers consider devotional activities to be bodily activities. They cannot understand the simple explanation of, in the Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mam chayo abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Anyone who engages in spiritual devotional service without motivation, rendering such service for the satisfaction of the Lord, is elevated immediately to the spiritual platform, and all his activities are spiritual. Brahma Bhuyaya refers to Brahman spiritual activities. Although Mayavadi philosophers are very eager to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they have no Brahman activities. To a certain extent, they recommend Brahman activities, which for them means engagement in studying the Vedanta and Sankhya philosophies. But their interpretations are but dry speculation. Lacking the varieties of spiritual activity, they cannot stay for long on the platform of simply studying Vedanta or Sankhya philosophy. Life is meant for varieties of enjoyment. The living entity is by nature full of enjoying spirit. As stated in Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12, Anandamayo Abhyasat. In devotional service, the activities are variegated and full of enjoyment. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9.2, all devotional activities are easy to perform, susukam kartum, and are eternal and spiritual abhyayam. Since Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they take it for granted that a devotee's activities, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, etc., are all material and are therefore Maya. They also consider Krishna's advent in this universe and his activities to be Maya. Therefore, because they consider everything Maya, they are known as Mayavadis. Actually, any activities performed favorably for the satisfaction of the Lord under the direction of spiritual master are spiritual. But for a person to disregard the order of spiritual master and act by concoction, accepting his nonsensical activities to be spiritual, is called Maya. Is Maya. One must achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of spiritual master. Therefore, one must first please the spiritual master. And if he is pleased, then we should understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also pleased. But if the spiritual master is displeased by our actions, they are not spiritual. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. Activities that please the spiritual master must be considered spiritual, and they should be accepted as satisfying to the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a supreme spiritual master, instructed his mother about the Mayavad philosophy. By saying that the body is dirt and eatables are also dirt, he implied that everything is Maya. This is Mayavad philosophy. The philosophy of the Mayavadis is defective because it maintains that everything is Maya, but the nonsense they speak. While saying that everything is Maya, the Mayavadi philosopher loses the opportunity of devotional service, and therefore his life is doomed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Haya Sarvanash, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 6:169. If one accepts the Mayavad philosophy, his advancement is doomed forever. We are continuing to read chapter 14, Adilila, text 30. Antare vismita sachi bolilo tahare, mati kaite jnana yoga ke shikala tore. Astonished that the child was speaking Mayavad philosophy, Mother Sachi replied, who has taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt? Purport. In the philosophical discourse between the mother and the son, when the son said that everything is one, as impersonalists say, the mother replied, if everything is one, why do people in general not eat dirt, but eat the food grains produced from the dirt? Matira vikara anna kaila kaile deha pushti haya, mati kaile roga haya, deha jaya kshaya. Replying to the Mayavadi idea of the child philosopher, Mother Sachi said, my dear boy, if we eat earth transformed into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus it's destroyed. Continuing on Adilila chapter 14, text 32. Matira
I am here, Vasanta.
Pani bhariyani, Mati pinde dhari jabe soshi jaya pani. In a water pot, which is a transformation of dirt, I can bring water very easily. But if I poured water on a lump of dirt, the lump would soak up the water, and my labor would be useless. Purport. The simple philosophy propounded by Sachi Mata, even though she is a woman, can defeat the Mayavadi philosophers who speculate on oneness. The defect of Mayavadi philosophy is that it does not accept the variety that is useful for practical purposes. Sachi Mata gave the example that although an earthen pot and a lump of dirt are basically one, for practical purposes, the water pot is useful, whereas the lump of dirt is useless. Sometimes scientists argue that matter and spirit are one, with no difference between them. Factually, in a higher sense, there is no difference between matter and spirit. But one should have the practical knowledge that matter, being an inferior state of existence, is useless for our spiritual blissful life, whereas spirit, being a finer state, is full of bliss. In this connection, the Bhagavatam gives the example that dirt and fire are practically one and the same. From the earth grow trees. From their wood comes fire and smoke. Nevertheless, for heat, we can utilize the fire, but not the earth, smoke, or wood. Therefore, for the ultimate realization of the goal of life, we are concerned with the fire of the spirit, not the dull wood or earth of matter. Text 33. Atma lukhaite prabhu bolilo tahare, Aage kena iha mata nashikale more. The Lord replied to his mother, why did you conceal self-realization by not teaching me this practical philosophy in the beginning? Purport. If from the beginning of life one is taught the Vaishnava philosophy of duality and variety, the monistic philosophy will not bother him very much. In reality, everything is an emanation from the Supreme Source, Janmadi Asya Yataha. The original energy is exhibited in varieties, exactly as the sunshine, the original energy emanating from the sun, exhibits itself in variety as light and heat. One cannot say that light is heat or that heat is light, yet one cannot separate one from the other. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, Achintya Bheda Abheda, inconceivable non-separation and distinction. Although there is an affinity between the two physical manifestations, light and heat, there is also a difference between them. Similarly, although the whole cosmic manifestation is the Lord's energy, the energy is nevertheless exhibited in varieties of manifestations. Ebe se janila ara matina kaibo, shuda lage jabe tabe tomara stana pibo. Now that I can understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I'm hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. Eto boli jananira kolete chadiya, stanapana kore prabhu ishat hasiya. After saying this, the Lord, smiling slightly, climbed on the lap of his mother and sucked her breast. Emate nana chale aishwarya dekhaya, balya bhava prakatiya paschat lukaya. Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulence as much as possible in his childhood, and later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself. Atiti viprera chan anna kaila tina bara, pache gupte se vipre porilo nistara. Translation. On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmana guest 3 times. And later, in confidence, the Lord delivered that Brahmana from material engagement. Purport. The story of the deliverance of the Brahmana is as follows. A Brahmana who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmana prepared his food. When the Brahmana was offering the food to Lord Vishnu in meditation, child Nimai came before him and began to eat it. And because of this, the Brahmana thought the whole offering had been spoiled. Therefore, by the request of Jagannath Mishra, he cooked for a second time. But when he was meditating, the child again came before him and began to eat the food, again spoiling the offering. By the request of Jagannath Mishra, the Brahmana cooked for the third time. But for the third time, the Lord came before him and began to eat the food, although the child had been locked within a room and everyone was sleeping because it was late at night. Thus, thinking on the day Lord Vishnu was not willing to accept his food and that he was therefore ordained to fast, the Brahmana became greatly agitated and cried out aloud, Hi! What has been done? What has been done? When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahmana in that agitated state, he told him, formerly, I was the son of Mother Yashoda. At that time also, you became a guest in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I disturbed you in this way. I'm very much pleased by your devotion. Therefore, I'm eating the food you have prepared. Understanding the favor offered to him by the Lord, the Brahmana was greatly pleased, and he was overwhelmed with love of Krishna. He was thankful to Lord, for he felt himself greatly fortunate. Then the Lord asked the Brahmana not to disclose the incident to anyone else. This pastime is very elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda chapter 5.
Vasanta is here.
Pelana gela Prabhu ke bahira pahiya. Tara skande chadi aila tare bulaiya. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by two thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves, and while they were thinking they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments, the Lord misled them. And thus, instead of going to their own home, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. Purport. In his childhood, the Lord was profusely decorated with gold ornaments. Once upon a time, when the Lord was playing outside his house, two thieves passing on the street saw the opportunity to rob him. Therefore, they took him on their shoulders, pleasing him by offering him some sweetmeats. The thieves thought that they would carry the child to the forest, then kill him and take away the ornaments. The Lord, however, expanded his illusory energy upon the thieves, so much so that instead of carrying him to the forest, they came right back in front of his house. When they came before his house, they became afraid because everyone from the house of Jagannath Mishra and all the inhabitants of that quarter were busy searching for a child. Therefore, the thieves, thinking it dangerous to remain, went away and left Lord Chaitanya. The child was brought within the house and given to Mother Shachi, who was in great anxiety, and she became satisfied. This incident is also very elaborately explained in Adi Kanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat, 3rd chapter. Vyadi chale jagadisha hiranya sadane Vishnu Naivedya Kaila Ekadashi Dine. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadisha on the Ekadashi day. Purport. The Chaitanya Bhagavat Adikanda, chapter 6, fully describes the Lord's accepting Vishnu Prasadam on the Ekadashi day at the house of Jagadisha and Hiranya. Regular prasadam is offered to Lord Vishnu on Ekadashi because although fasting is recommended for devotees on Ekadashi, it's not recommended for Lord Vishnu. Once on Ekadashi, in the house of Jagadisha and Hiranya Pandit, there were arrangements for preparing special prasadam for Lord Vishnu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his father to go there to ask for the Vishnu prasadam because he was feeling sick. The house of Jagadisha and Hiranya Pandit was situated about 2 miles from the house of Jagannath Mishra. Therefore, when Jagannath Mishra, on the request of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to ask Jagadisha and Hiranya for the prasadam, they were a little astonished. How could the boy understand that special prasadam was being prepared for Lord Vishnu? They immediately concluded that Nimai must have supernatural mystic power. Otherwise, how could he understand that they were preparing special prasadam? Therefore, they immediately sent the food to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his father, Jagannath Mishra. Nimai was feeling sick, but immediately after eating the Vishnu prasadam, he was cured, and he also distributed the prasadam among his playmates. I will pause after around 6:45 if anyone else would like to pick up at that point.
I am Vasanta, I am ready.
I'll continue for 5 more minutes, Mataji. Then whoever hasn't read till today, if they would like to take the chance, they can take.
Okay.
Yeah. Sishu Sabalaya Pada Padashira Gore Ghare Churi Kari Dravya Kaye Mare Bala Kere. As usual for small children, he learned to play, and with his playmates, he went to the house of neighboring friends, stealing their eatables and eating them. Sometimes the children fought among themselves. Sishu Sabha Sachi Stane, Koiloni Vedana, Shuni Sachi Putre Kichu, Dila Olahana. All the children lodged complaints with Sachimata about the lords fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise and rebuke her son. Kene churi kara, kene maraha sishure, kene para ghare jaha, kiba nahi ghare. Sachimata said, Why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat the other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you not have in your own house? Purport. According to Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha, since creation, maintenance, and annihilation exist in the Supreme Absolute, whatever we find within this material world is already in the spiritual world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. How is he stealing? And how is he fighting? It is not as a thief or an enemy, but as a friend in a loving condition. He steals as a child not because he is in want, but out of natural instinct. In this material world also, small children without enmity or bad will sometimes go to a neighbor's house and steal, and sometimes they fight. Krishna also, like other children, did all these things in his childhood. Without the existence of the stealing propensity and fighting propensity in the spiritual world, they cannot exist here in the material world. The difference between the material and spiritual worlds is that stealing in the spiritual world is done in friendship and love, whereas fighting and stealing within this material world are executed on the basis of enmity and envy. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world, all these activities exist, but there is no inebriety. Whereas in the material world, all activities are full of miserable conditions. Shuni krudahana prabhu ghara bhitara jana ghare jata vanda chila felila bangiya. Thus rebuked by his mother, Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it. Tabe sachi kole kari karaila santosha lajjita hoila prabhu janini jadosha. Then Sachimata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed admitting his faults. There is a nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in Chaitanya Bhagavat Adikanda chapter 3, where it is said that as a child, the Lord used to steal all kinds of eatables from the houses of neighboring friends. In some houses, he would steal milk and drink it, and in others, he would steal and eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. If there were nothing to eat, but there were small babies, the Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes neighbor would complain to Sachimata, my child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and make him cry. Kabu mrudu haste koila, mata ke tadana, mata ke murchita deki koroe krandana. Once the child Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised his mother with his soft hand. His mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. Nari gana kohe, nari kela deha ani, tabe susta hoibe na tomara janani. The neighboring ladies told him, dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere, and then your mother would be cured. Bahire jana anilena, dui nari kela, dekhiya apurva hoila, vismita sakala. He then went outside the house, immediately brought 2 coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. Kabu sishu sange snana korilo gangate, kanyagana aila taha devata pujite. Sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in the Ganges, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. According to the Vedic system, the small girls 10 or 12 years old would go to the bank of the Ganges to take their bath. They would especially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a good husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time most powerful. Formerly, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishakha, April, May. To take a bath in the Ganges is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults, but for children also. Only 2 more verses, I'll just finish this until text 50. Ganga Snana Kori Puja, Kori Te Lagila, Kanya Gana Madhye Prabhu Asiya Bashila. When the girls engaged in worshipping different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young lord would come there, sit down among them. I'll pause here. So we have to continue from text 50. I
Okay.
just ask if anybody who
I
hasn't
am
read this
Vasanta.
today would like to do.
I continue to read text 50 translation. Addressing the gods, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good vindications. The Ganges, and the goodness Durga are the maid servants. What to speak to other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant. Perfect. There is a misconception about the Hindu religion among the people who profess other religions such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in the Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, that is not fact. God is one, but there are many other powerful living entities which are in the charge in different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigod to receive some particular boon, but actually one who becomes a devotee and worship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any vindication, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavad Gita 7.20.28 therefore condemns such demigods worship. Kamis Tai Tayastar Hatha Jagat Janat Janaha Papagara Naya Dhavata Tam Nivyam Asta Trakya Nicha Sarva. Only persons who intelligence is lost and who are made with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of the worship according to their own. By persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the daily and the duality of their delusion, engage themselves in the worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination. Only the just intelligent worship of the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Sometimes we, the members of the Krishna conscious movement, are accused of not approving the worship of demigods. But how can we approve to this with the it is condemned by the Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and harta jana, benefit of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between the matter and spirit, and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. This is our mission. How could we mislead people into worship so-called gods is a material bodies within the material world? Our position of not allowing worship of many hundred of demigods was confirmed by the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakra has sung the connection to become a snatch pure devotee. The Supreme Personality of God had without deviation. Anya Bhakha, one should not divert his attention to the worship of demigods. Such a control of symptoms of pure devotee here in service. Text 51. without the permission of the gods, the Lord would take the sandalwood plum and simmer it on his own body, but the flower garlands on his neck, and snatch to eat all the offerings of sweetness, rice and bananas. Purport. According to the system of worship, when something is offered to the deities outside one's house, it is generally not cooked food but rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigods, but they worship him. The worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is recommended Srimad Bhagavatam, one who should worship the Supreme Personality of God who appears in the age of Kali with his associates as the Panchatattva, the Lord himself and his associates. Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Govardhana Prabhu, and Srinivasa Tukra. In the age of the intelligence, persons worship the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and it is possible to disturb the prasadam. Our Krishna consciousness movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with the deities of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, offering prasadam, and distributing prasadam to the people in general. Text 52. All the translation, all the girls became very angry at the Lord for this behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village relationship. Text 53. Now, therefore, if does not behave you to act like this, don't take our pertamela for worship of the demigods. Don't create disturbance in this way. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the vindication that your husbands will be very handsome. Text 55. This will be learned clear that young and possess abundant wealth and rise. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons who will all living long lives and be very intelligent. Purport. Generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband who is learned, clever, young, and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich, it possesses a large stock of food grains and a very large number of animals. Dhanya, Dhanavana, Gavyati, Dhanoma. One is rich, she possesses food grains, cows, and bulls. A girl also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long-lived. Now, because of society, deteriorated, there is a propaganda that have 1 or 2 children and kills the rest of the contraceptive method. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than 1 child, but at least half a dozen. In exchange for the Prapamila, the worship he used, he observed for himself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girl to fulfill the ambition and desire. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food, grains, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyasa as an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by also taking sannyasa. One can stay in the householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Prabhu. Then one will be happy with all material appliances of the good home, good children, good matter, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore, the sannyasa advised yathu sankirtana prayer yathi he Sumatha Bhagavad Gita 11.5 verse 32. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtana mantra home to home and live peacefully in the life and go back to Godhead in the next. Test 56. Hearing the vindication from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. Purport. This double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within their externally show their dissatisfaction. Such family dealings, female dealings are very palatable. A boy who tried to make friendship with them. Text 57. When some of the girls feel, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows. Text 58. If you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 cow wives. Purport. In India, in those days, and even until 50 years ago, polygamy was freely allowed. Any man, especially of the higher caste, Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, and a particular Kshatriya could marry more than one wife. In Mahabharata or in old history of India, we see that the Kshatriyas, kings especially, used to marry many wives. According to Vedic civilization, there is no restriction against this. And even in more than 50 years old, could marry. But to be the married a man who had many wives was not very pleasing situation, because of the husband's love would be divided among his many wives. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him in the Navadivya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to men who had at least 4 wives. The social structure allowing a man to marry more than one wife can be supported in this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than in the male population. Therefore, it is if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married unless the polygamy is allowed, if it will not be possible. If all the girls are not married, there is a good chance of duality, and a society in which duality is allowed cannot be very peaceful or pure. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have restricted illicit sex. The practice of difficulty is find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided of the course that is a husband is able to maintain more than one wife.
Hare Krishna, Vasanta Mataji, we will pause here.
Okay.
We will pause here. There are others who may, who would like to read Would you like to share one thing that you would like to say from whatever you read? Just one simple thing.
In the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actions in the childhood and how to teach the children, and he says that no need to pray all the gods. Krishna is the supreme head, only one God. Thank you, Mataji.
Wonderful. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. So now for the next 15-20 minutes, Sangeeta Mataji, you can read, and after that, Vijayalakshmi Mataji, you can continue after Sangeeta Mataji. Thank you, and I apologize for extending my time. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, I would let others go because I did read yesterday. So I just, yeah, I will do it at the end if there is time.
Okay, sure. Vijayalakshmi Mataji, would you like to read then for next 15-20 minutes?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances on Lord Sri Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Mataji, sure. Text 59, right, Mataji?
Yes.
Okay. Text 59. Iha sunita sabare mane haila bhaya kona kichu jane kiba deva vishtahaya. Translation. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by demigods, were afraid that his curse might be effective. Text 60. Aniya naivedyatara sammukhe darila khaiya naivedyatare ishtavaradila. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. Ei mata chapalya sab lokera dekhaya dukho karo mane nahe sabe sukha paya. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. एक दिन वल्लभाचार्य कन्या लक्ष्मी नाम देवता पूजिते आयला करी गंगा स्नान. One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. But according to the Gaura Gunadesha Deepika 45, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramachandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwarka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 63. Tanre dekhi prabhu rohaila sabhilashamana Lakshmi chitte prita paila prabhu rodarshana. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. Sahajika priti dunhara karila udaya balya bhavat channa tabhu haila nishchaya. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it was quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. Text 65. Dunha dekhi dunhara chitte haila ullasa deva puja chale kaila dunhe prakasha parakasha. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. Prabhu kahe ama puja ami maheshwara amara pujile pabe abhipshita vara. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire. Purport, this is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami masuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport, the Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire. Purport, this is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami masuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves, that water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on. For that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamaishtair hritagyana prapadyante anya devataha. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desire. Bhagavad Gita 7.20. Text 67. Lakshmi Tanra Ange Dila Pushpa Chandana Mallikara Mala Diya Karila Vandana. On hearing the order of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with Mallika flowers and offering prayers. Prabhu Tanra Puja Pana Hasite Lagila Shloka Padi Tanra Bhava Angikara Kaila. Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotion she expressed. Purport. The verse quoted in this connection is the 25th verse of the 22nd chapter, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis worshipped goddess Durga or Katyayani, but their inner desire was to get Lord Krishna as their husband. Krishna, as Paramatma, could realize the ardent desire of the gopis, and therefore he enjoyed the pastime of Vastraharana. When the gopis went to bathe in the river Yamuna, they left their garments on the land and dipped into the water completely naked. Taking this opportunity, Krishna stole all their garments and sat down in the top of a tree with them, desiring to see the girls naked just to become their husband. The gopis desired to have Krishna as their husband, and since it is only before her husband that a woman can be naked, to fulfill their desire, Lord Krishna accepted their prayers by this pastime of stealing their garments. When the gopis received their garments back from Krishna, Krishna recited this verse. Text 69. Sankalpo vidita sadhvyo bhavatinam mad archanam maya numoditah asau satyo bhavitam arhati. Translation. My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so. Purport. The gopis, the girlfriends of Krishna, were almost of the same age as he. Within their minds, they desired that Krishna be their husband, but because of feminine bashfulness, they could not express their desire. Therefore, later on, after stealing their garments, Krishna informed them, I immediately understood your desire and approved of it. Because I have now stolen your garments, you have presented yourselves before me completely naked, which means that I have accepted all of you as my wives. Sometimes foolish rascals, not knowing the purpose of the Lord or the purpose of the gopis, unnecessarily criticize from their own angle of vision. But the real purpose of Vastraharana is expressed by the Lord in this verse. Ei mata leela kari dunhe gela ghare gambhira chaitanya leela ke bujhi te pare. After thus expressing their feelings to each other, Lord Chaitanya and Lakshmi returned home. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Text 71. Chaitanya chapalya dekhi preme sarva jana sachi jagannathe dekhi dena olahana. When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. Ekadina Sachi Devi putre re bhartsiya dhari bare gela putra gela palaya. One day, Mother Sachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him. but he fled from the spot. Uchishtagarте tyakta handira upara basi achena sukhe prabhu deva vishwambhara. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in the pit where the remnants of food were thrown, after the pots have been used for cooking. Purport. Formerly, it was the custom of Brahmanas to worship Lord Vishnu daily at home and cook food in new pots. This system is still going on in Jagannath Puri. The food would be cooked in earthen pots, all fresh and new, and after cooking, the pots would be thrown away. By the side of the house, there was generally a big pit where such pots were thrown. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the pots very pleasingly just to give his mother a lesson. Sachi asi kahe ke na suchi chunila Ganga snana kari apavitra haila. When Mother Sachi saw her boy sitting on the rejected pots, she protested, "Why have you touched those untouchable pots? You have now become impure. Go and bathe in the Ganges." Iha suni mata ke kahila brahma jnana vishmita haya mata karaila snana. Hearing this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his mother about absolute knowledge. Although amazed by this, his mother forced him to take a bath. Purport. The absolute knowledge explained by the Lord to his mother is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. The Lord said, Mother, that this is pure and that is impure is surely a worldly sentiment with no basis in fact. You have cooked food for Lord Vishnu within these pots and offered the food to him. How then can these pots be untouchable? Everything in relationship with Vishnu is to be considered an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Vishnu, the super soul, is eternal and uncontaminated. How then may these pots be considered pure or impure? Hearing this discourse and absolute knowledge, his mother was very much astonished and forced him to take a bath. कभु पुत्र संगे सची करिल शयन देखे दिव्य लोक आशी भरिल भवन. Sometimes taking her son with her mother, mother Sachi would lie down on her bed and she would see that denizens of the celestial world had come there filling the entire house. Sachi bale yaha putra bola ha bapere matragya paya prabhu chalila bahire. Once Mother Sachi told the Lord, "Please go call your father." Receiving this order from his mother, the Lord went out to call him. Chalite charane nupura baje jhan jhan suni chama kita haila pita mata ramana. When the child was going out, there was a tinkling of ankle bells from his lotus feet. Hearing this, his father and mother were struck with wonder. Mishra kahe ei bada adbhuta kahini shishura shunya pade kene nupurera dhvani. Jagannath Mishra said, "This is a very wonderful incident. Why is there a sound of ankle bells from the bare feet of my child?" Text 80. Sachi kahe ara ek adbhuta dekhila divya loka ashi angana bharila. Mother Sachi said, "I also saw another wonder. People were coming down from the celestial kingdom and crowding the entire courtyard. Kiba kalahala kare bujite na pare kaha ke vastuti kare anumana kari." They made noisy sounds I could not understand. I guess they were offering prayers to someone. Mishra bale kichu hauk chinta kichu nai Vishwambharera kushala hauk kehi ei matra chai. Jagannath Mishra replied, "Never mind what it is. There is no need to worry. Let there always be good fortune for Vishwambara. This is all I want."
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you for reading. Beautiful.
Thank you so
Anyone
much,
else
Mataji.
would like to, or would you like to say something quickly before somebody decides to read?
Yeah, nothing much, Mataji, but yeah, wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is almost similar to Lord Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah.
So, by which we can, this is a proof for like Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. He has come down in Kali Yuga for us all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you. Since no one else has raised their hands, Sangeeta Mataji, would you like to read? And then if anyone
Sure.
else would like to read, you can raise hands and read after Sangeeta Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So I'm starting 84 or 83, sorry.
83 Mataji.
Okay, 83. Ekadina Mishra Putrera Chapalya Dekhiya Dharma Shiksha Dila Bahu Barastana Kriya. On another occasion, Jagannath Mishra, seeing the mischievous acts of his son, gave him lessons in morality after rebuking him greatly. Ratre swapna dekhe eka ashi brahmana mishre khaye kichu sa rosha vachana. On that very night, Jagannath Mishra dreamt that a Brahmana had come before him speaking these words in great anger. Mishra tumi putrera tatva kichuina jana bharat sana tadana kara putra kari mana. My dear Mishra, you do not know anything about your son. You think him your son, and therefore you rebuke and chastise him. Mishra ka he deva siddha muni kene naya yeshe bada ha uk matra amaratanaya. Jagannath Mishra replied, this boy may be a demigod, a mystic yogi, or a great saintly person. It does not matter what he is, for I think he is only my son. Putrera lalana shiksha pitara swadharma amina sikhale kaiche jani bedharma marma. If it is the duty of a father to educate his son in both religion and morality, if I do not give him this education, how will he know of it? Viprakahe putra yadi daiva siddha khaya swata siddha jnana tabe shiksha vyarathahaya. The Brahmana replied, if your son is a transcendental mystic boy with self-effulgent perfect knowledge, what is the use of your education? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Brahmana Jagannath Mishra saw in his dream, told him that his son was not an ordinary human being. If he were a transcendental person, he would have self-effulgent knowledge, and thus there would be no need to educate him. Mishra kahe putra kene nahe narayana tathapi pitara dharma putrera shikshana. Jagannath Mishra replied, even if my son is not a common man but Narayana, still it is the duty of a father to instruct his son. Ei mate dune karena dharmera vichara vishuddhavat salya mishrera nahi jane ara. In this way, Jagannath Mishra and the Brahmana discussed the principles of religion in the dream. Yet Jagannath Mishra was absorbed in unalloyed parental mallow and did not want to know anything else. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.45, it is said, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped with exalted hymns by all the Vedas and Upanishads, and by great personalities through Sankhya Yoga in the mode of goodness, was considered by Mother Yashoda and Nanda to be their own little son. Similarly, Jagannath Mishra also considered Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his beloved little boy, although he is worshipped with all veneration by learned brahmanas and saintly persons. Eta shuni devija gela hana anandita mishra jagiya hal ila parama vishmeta. Being very pleased, the Brahmana left after talking with Jagannath Mishra, and then Jagannath Mishra awakened from his dream. He was very much astonished. Bandhu Bandhava Sthane Swapna Kaila Shunya Sakala Loka Vishmitaha Aila. He related the dream to his friends and relatives, and every one of them was very much astonished to hear of it. Ei mata shishu lila kare gora chandra dine dine pita matara badaya ananda. In this way, Gaura Hari performed his childhood pastimes and day after day increased the pleasure of his parents. Kata dine mishra putrera hatte khadi dila alpa dine dwadasha phala akashra shikhila. After some days, Jagannath Mishra inaugurated the primary education of his son by performing the Hate Khadi ceremony. With a very few days, the Lord learned all the letters and combinations of letters. The 12 phala or combination of letters are called Refa, Murdanya, cerebral, Na, Dantavya, dental, Na, Ma, Ya, Ra, La, Va, Ra, Ra, La, and La. Hate Khadi is the primary educational beginning. At the age of 4 or 5 years, on an auspicious day called Vidyarambha, marking the beginning of primary education, there is a ceremony worshipping Lord Vishnu, and after that, the teacher gives the child a long chalk pencil. Then, guiding the hand of the student, he instructs him how to write the letters of the alphabet, A, E, etc., by writing big letters on the floor. When the child is a little advanced in writing, he is given the slate for his primary education, which ends when he learns the 2-letter combinations, which are called phala, as mentioned above. Balyalila Sutra E Kaila Anukarma Iha Vishtariya Chena Dasa Vrindavana. This is the synopsis of the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, placed herewith in chronicle order. Vrindavan Das Thakur has already elaborately explained these pastimes in his book Chaitanya Bhagavata. Ataiva e lila sangshepe sutra kaila punarukti bhai vistarya na kahila. I have therefore made only a brief summary, being afraid of repetition. I have not elaborated upon this subject matter. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padeyara Asha Chaitanya Charita Mrita Kahe Krishna Dasa. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purpose of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 14th chapter, describing Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes. Should I continue, or if anybody else wants to read?
Chintamani Mataji raised her hands, but if you'd like to continue for 5 more minutes, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Okay, I'll go 5 more minutes then stop.
Yeah.
7:30 I'll stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 15, the Lord's Pauganda Leela. A synopsis of the 15th chapter is as follows. The Lord took lessons in grammar from Ganga Das Pandit and became very expert in in commenting upon grammar. He forbade his mother to take grains on the Ekadashi day. He narrated a story that Vishwarupa, after accepting the sannyas order, invited him in a dream to accept sannyas also. But the Lord refused and was therefore sent back home. When Jagannath Mishra passed away, the Lord married the daughter of Vallabhacharya, whose name was Lakshmi. All these events are summarized in this chapter. Text 1. Kumanashu manastvam hi yati yasya pada bhajaya shumano arpana matrena tam chaitanya prabhum bhaje. I offer my respectful obeisances onto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya because simply by offering a flower at his lotus feet, even the most ardent materialist becomes a devotee. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Pauganda Lilara Sutra Kari Ganana Pauganda Vas Vayase Prabhura Mukha Adhyayana. Let me now enumerate the activities of the Lord between the ages of 5 and 10. His chief occupation during this period was to engage himself in study. Pauganda Leela Chaitanya Krishnayasyati Suvistrata Vidyarambha Mukha Pani Grahananta Manohara. The pastimes of the Lord during his Paganda age were very extensive. His education was his chief occupation, and after that, his very beautiful marriage took place. Ganga Dasa Pandita Sthane Padena Vyakrana Sarvana Matre Kante Kaila Sutra Vritigana. When the Lord was studying grammar at the place of Gangadas Pandita, he would immediately learn grammatical rules and definitions by heart simply by hearing them once. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says that the Lord was given lessons by a teacher named Vishnu and another teacher named Sudarshana. Later on, when he was a little grown up, he was under the care of Gangadas Pandita, who taught him grammar of a higher standard. Anyone serious about studying the Sanskrit language should first learn grammar. It is said that simply to finish studying Sanskrit grammar takes at least 12 years. But once he learns the grammatical rules and regulations very nicely, all other scriptures or subject matters in Sanskrit are extremely easy to understand. For Sanskrit, grammar is the gateway to education. Alpakale haila panji tikate pravina chirakale ra paduya jinehaya navina. He soon became so expert in commenting on the Panji Tika that he could win victory over all the other students, although he was a neophyte. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there was a commentary on grammar named Panji Tika that was later explained very lucidly by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Adhyayana Leela Prabhura Dasa Vrindavana Chaitanya Mangale Kaila Vistari Varanana. In his book Chaitanya Mangala, which later became Chaitanya Bhagavata, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has very elaborately described the Lord's pastimes of study. The Chaitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda, chapters 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are a good reference for the studious pastimes of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ekadina matara pade kariya pranama Prabhu kahe mata more dekha deha ekadana. One day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down at the feet of his mother and requested her to give him one thing in charity. Mata bale tai diba ya tumi magibe Prabhu kahe ekadashite anana kahibe. His mother replied, My dear son, I will give you whatever you ask. Then the Lord said, My dear mother, please do not eat grains on the Ekadashi day. From the very beginning of his childhood life, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the system of observing a fast on the Ekadashi day. In the Bhakti Sandarbha by Sri La Jiva Goswami, there is a quotation from the Skanda Purana admonishing that a person who eats grains on Ekadashi becomes a murderer of his mother, father, brother, and spiritual master. And even if he is elevated to a Vaikuntha planet, he falls down. On Ekadashi, everything is cooked for Vishnu, including regular grains and dal. But it is enjoined that a Vaishnava should not even take Vishnu Prasadam on Ekadashi. It is said that a Vaishnava does not accept anything eatable that is not offered to Lord Vishnu. But on Ekadashi, a Vaishnava should not touch even Mahaprasadam offered to Vishnu, although such prasadam may be kept for being eaten the next day. It is strictly forbidden for one who accepts any kind of grain on Ekadashi, even if it is offered to Lord Vishnu. So the last one I'll read. Sachi kahe na kahiba, bhala e kahila, sei haite ekadashi karite lagila. Mother Sachi said, You have spoken very nicely. I shall not eat grains on Ekadashi. From that day, she began to observe fasting on Ekadashi. It is a prejudice among Smarta Brahmanas that a widow must observe fasting on Ekadashi, but a woman who is Sadhava, who has her husband, should not. It appears that before Lord Chaitanya's request, Sachi Mata, being Sadhava, was not observing Ekadashi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, introduced the system that a woman, even if not a widow, must observe the Ekadashi day and must not touch any kind of grains, even those offered to the deity of Vishnu. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. You want to say anything, Mataji?
It's just so nice to read the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. I've not read Chaitanya Charitamrita that often. Only during this time we start in our Bhagavad reading group. And it's so wonderful seeing the pastimes and so many similarities, with Krishna's pastimes. And I was just being very thankful to Srila Prabhupada because, if in our northern side, we never heard anything much about Mahaprabhu, so it's like only Krishna's pastimes and it is so amazing to hear all this, and I'm very, very thankful to Srila Prabhupada, who, because of him, we are aware of all this. We are, we are reading all this, and we are this Gaudiya Math, which we are worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And more you read and more you know that without Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, we cannot get, mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and so much to learn, and it's very, very wonderful pastime. So that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mataji. Chintamani Mataji, would you like to continue from text 11?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
তবে মিশ্র বিশ্বরূপের দেখিয়া যৌবন কন্যা চাহি বিবাহ দিতে করিলেন মন. Thereafter, seeing that Vishwarup was a grown-up youth, Jagannath Mishra wanted to find a girl and arrange a marriage ceremony for him. Vishwarup শুনি ঘর ছাড়ি পলাইলা সন্ন্যাস করিয়া তীর্থ করিবারে গেলা. Hearing of this, Vishwarup immediately left home and went away to accept sannyas and travel from one place of pilgrimage to another. শুনি শচী মিশ্রের দুঃখী হইল মন তবে প্রভু মাতা পিতার কইল আস্বাদন। When Shachimata and Jagannath Mishra heard of the departure of their elder son Vishwarup, they were very unhappy. But Lord Chaitanya tried to console them. ভালো হইল বিশ্বরূপ সন্ন্যাস করিল, পিতৃকুল মাতৃকুল দুই উদ্ধারিল। My dear mother and father, the Lord said, it is very good that Vishwarup has accepted the sannyas order, for thus he has delivered both his father's family and his mother's family. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is sometimes said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disapproved of the acceptance of the sannyas order in this Kali Yuga, because in the Shastra it is said, Ashwamedham Gavalambham Sannyasam Paitrakam Devarena Sutotpattim Kalau Pancha Vivarjayat. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden: the offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. Ramabhai Varta Purana, Krishna Janma Khanda 185.180. Nevertheless, we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself accepted sannyas and approved of the sannyas of his elder brother Vishwarup. It is clearly said here, Bhalo hoilo Vishwarup sannasa korilo, Pitrakul matrikul dui uddharilo. Therefore, should it be thought that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made statements that are contradictory? No, actually he did not. It is recommended that one accept sannyas to dedicate his life for the service of the Lord. And everyone must take that kind of sannyas. For by accepting such sannyas, one renders the best service to both his paternal and maternal families. But one should not accept the sannyas order of the Mayavad school, which has practically no meaning. We find many Mayavadi sannyasis simply loitering in the street, thinking themselves Brahman or Narayan, and spending all day and night begging so they can fill their hungry bellies. Mayavadi sannyasis have become so degraded that there is a section of them who eat everything, just like hogs and dogs. It is such degraded sannyasa that is prohibited in this age. Actually, Srila Shankaracharya's principles for the acceptance of sannyas were very strict. But later, the so-called Mayavadi sannyasis became degraded because of their false philosophy, which propounds that by accepting sannyas, one becomes Narayan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that kind of sannyas, but the acceptance of sannyas is one of the items of the Varnashram Dharma. How then can it be rejected? Text 15. Amito koribo toma duharo sebon, shuniya santushta hoila pitamatar mon. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assured his parents that he would serve them, and thus the minds of his father and mother were satisfied. Ekdin noibedyo tambulo khaiya, bhumite porila prabhu achetana hoiya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts offered to the deity, but they acted as an intoxicant, and he fell down on the ground unconscious. Betel nuts are an intoxicant, and therefore the regulative principles prohibit eating them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime of fainting after eating betel nuts is a solid instruction to all of us that one should not touch betel nuts, even those offered to Vishnu, just as one should not touch grains on the Ekadashi day. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's fainting had a particular purpose. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can do whatever he likes and eat whatever he wants, but we should not imitate his pastimes. Aste baste pita mata mukhe dilo pani, shustha hoiya kahe prabhu apurbo kahini. After his father and mother sprinkled water on his mouth with great haste, the Lord revived and said something wonderful they had never heard before. Etha hoite Vishwarup more loiya gela, shannash karaho tumi amare kohila. The Lord said, Vishwarup took me away from here, and he requested me to accept the sannyas order. আমি কহি আমার অনাথ পিতা মাতা, আমি বালক সন্ন্যাসের কিবা জানি কথা। I replied to Vishwarup, I have my helpless father and mother, and also I am but a child. What do I know about sannyas order of life? গৃহস্থ হইয়া করিব পিতা মাতার সেবন, ইহাতেই তুষ্ট হবেন লক্ষ্মীনারায়ণ। Later I shall become a householder and thus serve my parents. For this action will very much satisfy Lord Narayan and his wife, the goddess of fortune. তবে বিশ্বরূপ ইহা পাঠাইল মোরে, মাতাকে কহিও কোটি কোটি নমস্কারে। Then Vishwarup returned me home and requested, offer thousands and thousands of obeisances unto my mother, Shachi Devi. এই মতো নানা লীলা করিয়া গৌর হরি, কি কারণে লীলা ইহা বুঝিতে না পারি। In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed various pastimes, but why he did so, I cannot understand. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees who come to this world are executing a mission, and therefore sometimes they act in a way that is very difficult to understand. It is said, therefore, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyana Bujya. Even if one is a very learned and intelligent scholar, he cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava accepts anything favorable for executing his mission, but foolish persons, not knowing the purpose of such exalted Vaishnavas, indulge in criticizing them. That is forbidden, since no one can understand what a Vaishnava does for the purpose of executing his mission. To criticize such a Vaishnava is the offense called sadhu ninda. কতদিন রহি মিশ্র গেলা পরলোকে, মাতা পুত্র দুহার বাড়িল রীতি শোকে। After some days, Jagannath Mishra passed away from this world to the transcendental world. And both mother and son were very much aggrieved in their hearts. Bondhu bandhavasi duha prabhotila, pitrikriya vidhi mote ishara korila. Friends and relatives came there to pacify Lord Chaitanya and his mother. Then Lord Chaitanya, even though he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, executed the rituals for his dead father according to the Vedic system. কতদিন প্রভু চিত্তে করিলা চিন্তন, গৃহস্থ হইলাম এবে চাহি গৃহ ধর্ম। After some time, the Lord thought, I did not take sannyas, and since I am remaining at home, it is my duty to act as a grihastha. গৃহিণী বিনা গৃহ ধর্ম না হয় শোভন, এত চিন্তি বিবাহ করিতে হইল মন। Without a wife, Lord Chaitanya considered, there is no meaning to householder life. Thus, the Lord decided to marry. Na graham graham iti ahur grihini graham uchyate, tayahi sahita sarvan purusharthan samashnute. Merely a house is not a home, for it is a wife who gives a home its meaning. If one lives at home with his wife, together they can fulfill all the interests of human life. দৈবে একদিন প্রভু পড়িয়া শীতে বল্লভাচার্যের কন্যা দেখে গঙ্গা পথে. One day, when the Lord was coming back from school, he accidentally saw the daughter of Vallabhacharya on the way to the Ganges. পূর্বসিদ্ধ ভাব দুহার উদয় করিল, দৈবে বনমালী ঘটক শচীস্থানে আইল. When the Lord and Lakshmi Devi met, their relationship awakened. Having already been settled, and coincidentally, the marriage maker Vanamali came to see Shachimata. Vanamali Ghatak, a resident of Navadvip and a Brahmana by caste, arranged the marriage of the Lord to Lakshmi Devi. He was formerly Vishwamitra, who negotiated the marriage of Lord Ramchandra, and later he was the Brahmana who negotiated the marriage of Lord Krishna with Rukmini. That same Brahmana acted as the marriage maker of the Lord in Chaitanya Lila. Shochiringite shambandha korilo ghoton, Lokhike bibaho koilo Shochira Nandan. Following the indications of Shachimata, Vanamali Ghatak arranged the marriage, and thus, in due course, the Lord married Lakshmi Devi. Bistariya Burnila Taha Brindavan Dash, Eito Pogondo Lilar Shutra Prakash. Vrindavan Das Thakur has elaborately described all these pastimes of the Lord's early age. What I have given is but a condensed presentation of the same pastimes. Pouganda boyeshe lila bohuto prokar, Vrindavan Das iha koriyachen bistar. The Lord performed many varieties of pastimes in his early age, and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described them elaborately. Otoe dingatro iha dakhaila, Chaitanya Mongole Sharvaloke Khato Hoila. I have given but a single hint of these pastimes, for Vrindavan Das Thakur in his book Chaitanya Mangal, now Chaitanya Bhagavat, has described them all vividly. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Jar Ash, Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 15th chapter, describing the Lord's Pauganda Leela.
Haribol.
Haribol.
So we read 2 chapters today? 3?
No, 3. Yeah, 4. No, 14.
No, 2. 14 and 15. Okay.
14 and 15. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I was thinking it's 7:45. Would anybody like to just even share? I mean, after Chintamani Mataji, we all can share whatever we want to share for the next 10 minutes at 7:47, and then we can probably close the call today. Is that a good idea, or would you like to read next?
Sure, Mataji. Whichever.
Okay, so let's share and then see how much time we have. Would you like to share something, Mataji?
Yeah, it is, I think, just as the others are saying, it is so, I mean, first of all, the Mahaprabhu's Leela is kind of quite relatable because, it's 500 years ago and some of the cultural aspects are known to us, and to see Mahaprabhu and going through those and knowing that he is Krishna, though, is just so heart-touching and nectarian. Yeah, so it's always nice reading about Mahaprabhu.
Super, Mataji. Yeah, true. Very nice. Yeah. Anyone else want to share anything today from the reading?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I like to. I just realized that he was simply a toddler when he was talking philosophy to his mother. He was a breastfed toddler when he started speaking philosophy. Yeah, about the pot. I mean, eating dirt, and then and his pastimes with the young girls bathing in the Ganges, and very coolly saying so much, I am God, God, you can worship me, and cursing them or blessing them. It all seems like a child's play, but it is all very, the actual truth. It is also very sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. That's all.
Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else want to share how you're feeling after this reading?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Garanga. Such a very, very nectarian and beautiful pastime, and so many things he was doing in his childhood, teasing the girls and even though he was so young, so whatever Mataji said, breastfed, and he just talked his mother about this all philosophy, whatever Mataji says, same thing. I was thinking to tell you that how come in the so little child can know everything, but that is we can say that he is the God. God always know everything, right? So good and beautiful pastime to hear all the time, and I'm so anxious to read all the things, and so much beautiful pastime like a Lord Krishna, similar to Lord Krishna, whatever Krishna ate dirt, and how he just showed Yashoda Maya the whole world, whole universe. Same thing he did over here, that, and he gave the knowledge to his mother. And also Ekadashi Vrat and everything in the childhood pastime and Pauganda pastime. It's very, very nectarian to hear more and more.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, beautiful. Anyone else want to share anything? Devotees? Okay. So we do have another 9 minutes. If you want, we can read a few more verses from the next chapter. Should we do?
Mataji, should I read?
Yeah, please. I'm just going to scroll up. Yeah, you can read from text 1. Yeah.
Chapter
Just
16.
until 8 o'clock and we'll pause, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji.
Yeah.
Chapter 16, the pastimes of the Lord in his childhood and youth. This chapter fully describes Lord Chaitanya's Kishore Leela, or the activities he performed just before attaining youth. During this time, he studied deeply and was victorious over greatly learned scholars. During his Kishore Leela, the Lord also sported in the water. He went to East Bengal to secure financial assistance, cultivate knowledge, and introduce the Sankirtan movement. And there he met Tapana Mishra, whom he instructed about spiritual advancement and ordered to go to Varanasi. While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring East Bengal, his wife Lakshmi Devi was bitten by a serpent, or by the serpent of separation, and thus she left this world. When the Lord returned home, he saw that his mother was overwhelmed with grief because of Lakshmi Devi's death. Therefore, at her request, he later married his second wife, Vishnupriya Devi. This chapter also describes the Lord's argument with Keshav Kashmiri, the celebrated scholar, and the Lord's criticism of his prayer glorifying Mother Ganges. In this prayer, the Lord found 5 kinds of literary ornaments and 5 kinds of literary faults, thus defeating the Pandita. Later, the Kashmiri Pandit, who was known to have been victorious all over the country, submitted himself to the goddess of learning, and by her order, he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the morning of the next day and surrendered unto him. 1. Kripa Sudha Sarivyasya Vishwam Aplavantya Api Nitya Gaiva Sada Bhati Tamam Chaitanya Prabhum Bhaje. I worship Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose nectarian mercy flows like a great river, inundating the entire universe. Just as a river flows downstream, Lord Chaitanya especially extends himself to the fallen. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki Jai. Narottam Das Thakur has sung Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. He prays for Lord Chaitanya's mercy because he is the mercy incarnation, having appeared especially to reclaim the fallen souls. The more fallen one is, the greater one's claim to the favor of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One must only be very sincere and serious. Despite being contaminated by all the bad qualities of this Kali Yuga, If one surrenders unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord will surely and certainly deliver him. The best example is Jagai and Madhai. In this age of Kali, practically everyone is like Jagai and Madhai. But the Sankirtan movement inaugurated by Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is still flowing like a great river, inundating the entire world. And thus the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is successfully claiming all fallen souls to free them from contamination. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. Jiyat Kaishora Chaitanya, Murti Matya, Grahastha Mat, Grah Samrat, Lakshmi Aichar, Tito, Lakshya Mya, Tito Tha, Vaga Devya, Disham Jayi, Jaya Challata. Long live Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Kishore age. Both the goddess of fortune and the goddess of learning worshipped him. The goddess of learning, Saraswati, worshipped him in his victory over the scholar who had conquered all the world, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, worshipped him at home. Since he is therefore the husband or lord of both goddesses, I offer my obeisances unto him. Eita Kaishora Lilara Sutra Anubandha Shishya Gana Pandite Karila Arambha. At the age of 11, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to teach students. This marks the beginning of his Kishora age. Sata Shishya Sange Sada Adhyapana Vyakhya Suni Sarva Lokera Chamakita Mana. As soon as the Lord became a teacher, many students came to him, every one of them astonished to hear his mode of explanation. Sarva Shastra Sarva Pandita Paya Parajaya Vinaya Bhangite Karo Dukha Nahi Haya. The Lord defeated all kinds of scholars in discourses about all the scriptures, yet because of his gentle behavior, none of them were unhappy. Vivida Audatya Kare Shishya Gana Sange Janavite Jala Keli Kara Nana Range. The Lord, as a teacher, performed various kinds of pranks in his sporting pastimes in the water of the Ganges. Mataji, should I stop or continue?
Yeah, I think we can stop.
Sure, Mataji.
Maybe 1 second, Mataji. So we did until 7, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I think we'll pause here.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Mataji, to give me to
That's
speak
wonderful.
and to read.
Very nice, Mataji. Yeah. So we will continue from chapter 16, text number 8 tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
you.
Hari
Hare
Bol, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Mataji.
kripasiddhibhyascha
Thank you.
patitanam pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada.